All right. So thank you so much for joining us today on this chilly but beautiful Michigan day. If I haven't got a chance to meet you, I do recognize a lot of familiar names on our list today. But if I haven't got a chance to meet you before, my name is Colleen DeLang. I am the Director of Education here at My Role Source. This happens to be one of my favorite products that we offer in the way of Cloud CMA. But today is beyond CMA. So I just want to kind of clarify because I always get someone who signed up for, they see the Cloud CMA and they say, well, I thought we were going to learn CMAs. So actually, we have a whole class that is just set up for learning how to do CMAs from beginning to end. We show you the beautiful finished product you're going to create. We take you through step by step how to create those CMAs. I'm going to touch on just a couple of the changes here in a moment. But really today is focusing on the other parts of Cloud CMA because I know when I started using Cloud, gosh, I think 10 years ago now as an agent myself, I loved the CMA product, but I didn't know it did property tours. I didn't know that you could set up a buyer tour so that they could create notes and have all the highlights of properties. I didn't know it did property reports. I didn't know it had a lead generation piece, which would allow me to squeeze information back and actually start working with a real life lead. So there's so much more to this product. So I'm excited to take you through it. I am lucky enough to have a great coworker by the name of Taylor Fedewa answering questions behind the scenes. So if you do have any questions today, because we're going to go through kind of a lot of information, feel free to fire that question away in your questions box, which is if you open up your GoToWebinar panel, which may either be minimized by an orange arrow to the right or a little blue flower at the bottom. If you open that up, you can ask questions as we go through today's demonstration. And don't feel like you have to hold all of your questions till the end. I know as an agent, I usually forget by the end because there's so much information. So feel free to just fire that question away in the questions box and we will answer it. Hello, Wynn. Nice to see that you're here. Always like when you pop into our classes. All right, so where we're going to get started today is I'm going to briefly cover some of the new enhancements on CMAs, but we're really going to, like I said, spend most of our time today on the other pieces of Cloud CMA. So I'm going to go ahead and just share my screen kind of quickly, just so you can kind of see it. It's going to make a little more sense when you're able to see it. So of course you can do beautiful CMA presentations in Cloud, but they've added some great new enhancements. So I'm going to cover those really quick, and then we're going to jump into things like the lead generation and the property tours and things like that. So first and foremost, you've always been able to make kind of wowing presentations with Cloud. Of course, you can add your custom theme, your custom colors. It will pull information from the tax records so you can set up your subject property, but you can also do custom pages within your CMA. In the Cloud CMA class where we walk you through doing a CMA from beginning to end, we show you how to set up your template so it's got all of your company information that's always there. A great contact me page. By the way, in the next piece that I'm going to show you, you can actually do a video contact me page, meaning you can actually put maybe a little video of you. We'll use Wynn because she always does such a great job. She's a broker. She does a tremendous amount of business. But a lot of times, you want a little bit extra in your resume or your contact me page. So it actually allows you to go in and set up a video. So Wynn could, let's say, have somebody taking video of her shaking hands in front of her $1 million waterfront listing in front of her sign. That can actually be put right in her video resume or even on her contact me page. I am kind of I guess, old fashioned in the way that I always like to do my homework. I kind of think of myself as the Girl Scout. Maybe that's because I was a Girl Scout early on. I like to always have where I pulled the information for doing my CMAs. So one of the things that we teach you in the CMA class is how to bring in things like the realist record or the tax records or that BS&A record. Because when that seller asks, well, where did you get our square footage? I think I have less or I have more. Quinn wants to be able to open up her CMA and go, well, this is actually what the tax records or the municipality is actually saying your home is. I also like to pull that because, of course, if the home has gone into sheriff's sale, if it's gone into foreclosure, if they've recently refied, of course, you can see all of that right here in that realist record right here at the bottom. The other thing this allows you to do is start preparing for your CMAs. When you're looking at these tax records, of course, not only can I see how many bedrooms, how many full bathrooms, what the actual lot size is, of course, when the home was built. Of course, it's got all that amount of detail, but it also is going to tell me here, does it have a full basement? Yes. Is it a finished basement? I can see that from here. Does it have an attached garage, which I can also see from here? I see that it has a deck. I see above grade square footage, below. So this is allowing me to actually gather all the details that I need so that I can start preparing to pull those comps right in Paragon. Of course, it's going to show me things like the lot size, but then we get into more of the assessor's records in CMA, and we want to bring those in. So, of course, we can see things like unpaid taxes, or if there's maybe a large outstanding water bill. I hate to say, I just recently listed a home in Warren, and it had a $700 outstanding water bill. So these are all really important things to know as you're starting to do that seller's net out. These, of course, are going to be things that you want to covering, want to cover in your CMA. Again, we're going to be able to see how big the garage is from here, year built, but I want to include this so that I can obviously go through this with the seller. One of the other things, I just recently closed this property, but one of the other things is you want to pull those outside pieces into your CMA report so that you can educate that seller on what's going on in their marketplace as well. So right here, I created this graph in Market Stats. It's called Fast Stats. And basically with 2 clicks, I created this graph to show that homeowner exactly what was going on up to the moment where she lived. So let's take a quick look at it. In Market Stats, right from this graph, I can see that when I sat down with this homeowner originally to list her home, we were down 42.7% in inventory. So you can see right here that there were 89 homes on the market of March of 2023, 51 homes on the market in March of 2024 when we listed this. So in this case, we've got our supply and demand, right? Easy to explain. If you're going to give a price range to that seller, low and high, right? I can easily show them why we might want to put them on the higher side of the price range. We've got almost a 43% deficit in our inventory. So let's look what it did to our average sales price. Our average sales price, as you can see, went from $271 to $321. So almost a $50,000 increase in just 1 year in the average sale in Clinton Township. So it gives the ability to, with 2 clicks, look like you're an expert in the marketplace because you can drill right down to what's going on. By the way, if there's condos, of course, that's broken down separately down here. But this is a way, not only are we doing our homework on what the home is going to be worth and preparing the comps, but we're also educating the seller of why we came up with maybe a higher end on our price range. Map of comparable listings. Of course, this is going to show the homeowner where you're pulling the comps from. But I really like the fact that Cloud gives you the ability to pull in the interior photos. Now, I have to be honest, in doing real estate for 25 years, I've used seven different CMA programs now. Some of them have not been user-friendly whatsoever. Some of them have evolved a little with time, but certainly Cloud is the easiest and I think makes the best looking presentation. I also like that you can customize Cloud more than you can in any other CMA program. A lot of people recently have started using RPR's CMA, and there's nothing really wrong with that. However, one of the things that I like better about Cloud is I can drill down to much more detail because Cloud is actually taking all of the detailed fields from the MLS. If you use the one that's in RPR, you are filling in a certain amount of information or it's pulling a certain amount of information, but you can only really do your CMA based on those fields it selects for you. If I want to drill down to be even more detailed, that I've got a three-car, something unique about this home, a three-car attached garage, that the home is brick, that I can add a lot more detail than I can in a lot of the other CMA programs. That's kind of what makes Cloud CMA different. But again, if Win is sitting with that homeowner and the homeowner says, well, Win, I think I should get more for my home than you stated here because I have a finished basement. Does Joe Fumagalli over there, does he have a finished basement? The plus of using Cloud too is that I can see those interior photos. Woof, that is a bright colored watermelon basement. I picked an interesting example here. So as you can see, this one clearly does. You can't miss that it has a finished basement because it's watermelon color. But here you can clearly see when he asks those questions, Win is able to go in and be able to actually address this with the homeowner at that time. Now, again, if you don't know much about creating a CMA in Cloud, there is a whole separate class just on that. But I also like that not only does each comparable allow you to bring in those interior photos, but you can leave notes. I hate to say it, I was that agent who always had, when we used to print out our CMAs most of the time, I still occasionally do that. Maybe if I'm meeting with an older client or they need a paper copy right away, sometimes I'll still print them. But in the majority of the case, I'm actually using a lot of the new live interactive features. But I was that agent who would constantly have sticky tabs on all of my CMA. Matter of fact, I just prepared CMA, so we'll kind of use that as our example here. But you know what would happen is you'd open up that CMA to that particular page, and you would have either handwritten something on there or you had your sticky note on there, and it just didn't really look that great. Well, now with the new feature that they added just a couple of months ago, you can actually go in and put detailed descriptions. Maybe they renovated their kitchen and they did a complete remodel, and you think that that would bring them a few additional $1,000 in their sold price. You can actually put the notes in there. More commonly, I may say something like, well, you're the only home in the neighborhood that doesn't have an attached garage or doesn't have a garage at all. And here's a little hint. If you've ever used RPR, they actually have a whole section just devoted on, it's basically just devoted to positive and negative adjustments for the parcel of property. So let me kind of explain what I mean. Obviously, if I renovated my kitchen here in Michigan and I put 20 grand into it, that same renovation in California is probably going to cost more, but it's going to be worth a lot more on a California home, right? So what it actually does is RPR drills down to the actual parcel. It asks the agent a series of questions. So it would ask when, for example, when did they do the remodel? Obviously, the older the remodel, the less it's going to be worth, right? How much did they spend doing the remodel? How much, it asks what's the level of work, and it gives you certain parameters. Once you fill that out, it actually gives you a value, like a positive or negative adjustment that you can use for that item. But again, it's based on that parcel. So I really like that it at least gives me a starting point. I wish I was like that Joanna Gaines, you know, who can walk in and she can say, okay, we're just going to knock this wall out, make this kitchen larger, and immediately she can tell you what that's going to bring, what value that's going to bring to a home. I am not that person, so I need something to actually look at as a guide to know kind of what that garage would bring, or that this doesn't have a garage and all the others do, what negative or positive adjustment that would bring to my property. So they also have some great pre-written marketing pieces like you see here. At the time we listed her home, and actually I think we even got more than this, I was excited. When we listed the home, that homes were selling at 105% of their list price. Of course, right? Not enough homes, a lot of buyers looking, so of course they were getting over asking. And then how many days did it take actually go pending on the market on average? So some great pieces in here. Making a Cloud CMA report usually takes on average between 7 and 9 minutes. But the reason I kind of went through this, even though we're not spending a lot of time on CMAs today, is that they've released a new interactive version. But I want to show you two of the quick pieces because if you haven't seen them, I think they're spectacular. And it's something we've been wanting to use as agents for a very long time. Meaning using Win again. Win is sitting with the seller. And the seller says to Win, well, What about Joe Fumagali's property over there? I don't see it in my comps, Win. Now, Win's agreed, and she's been doing this a long time. There's a reason that she probably didn't pick that particular comp. Like maybe it was 2,000 square feet and a colonial, and this happened to be 1,000 square foot brick ranch. Well, of course, that's not going to be a good comp. And Win knows that. But if you're sitting with that seller, how are you addressing that without having to grab your phone and trying to pull it up on Paragon Connect or trying to find that property so you can address it? Here's a better way. With Cloud's new interactive version, you actually make your CMA the exact same way. So nothing is different in how you create the CMA. What is different is how are you presenting it? So let's take a look. So from that same CMA, I can simply click on View Live right here. And this is going to give me a way to present my CMA with the seller in a live format. Of course, I can still send it via email to the seller when we're done because I kind of am old-fashioned. I always like to leave a copy behind, right? That's what we're supposed to be doing. But over here, let's start here. In the new interactive version, right up here where the hamburger stack is, if let's say your client is out of town, let's say maybe it's an estate and the children are selling the estate, they're out of state and they want to sell mom's home. You can actually present your CMA via Zoom. You can present it via Microsoft Teams, via Skype, via Screen, or even Google Hangouts. If you're not familiar with Screen, it's just the people who make Slack. It's just a different form of that. The idea is if you're not sitting next to them and you still want to be able to present it, you can do so right through this program. The other thing it does, and my favorite part, and I'm not going to go too far into this because again, this kind of falls in our CMA class, but is how those comps are presented. I have always, I used to be, and I still even do this for some clients, on my comparables, I might highlight certain features or what made it different or what made it like their particular home. Here, it actually, and hopefully you can see this via live stream, but here you can actually see this had an additional bathroom. So +1, you can see it's highlighted in green. This had 12% less square footage that you're seeing right here. If there was a difference in, again, the garage size or difference in bedrooms or bathrooms, it's actually highlighted right here. So I can now go through the comps with my seller. But let's go back to Win's example. So Win is sitting right next to that seller and he says, well, what about Joe Fumagalli over there? So previously you'd have to say, well, it must have not been a good comp or let me find that. But now Win can simply click on the interactive map. And I love this. This is something I think we have needed for a long, long time. So Win is taken into the interactive map, which is going to show all of the homes that have closed. And we actually have history going back 15 years. So let's say we're going to use the one on Bender over here. So the ask Win, what about that home on Bender? Win can immediately pull that up and she can say, you know what, actually that was conditionally withdrawn from the market. It didn't close. Maybe they're asking about an active property. How much is this one going for? Win can actually see that right on her interactive map, and she could include it by simply toggling that property on. She can now include it into her CMA. Now, really, CMAs are always driven by the sold properties themselves, so we're going to pretend this sold over here happened to be the one that they were talking about, Mr. Fumagali's house. So Win can clearly see, well, this actually is a split level home. This is not a single story home, a single story ranch home, if you will. And so maybe that's why she didn't choose it. Or you know what, if she meant to choose it and she didn't, or maybe it just closed yesterday and she did a report 2 days ago, she can toggle that comp on that simply, and it will readjust her whole CMA for her. So I so often hear people saying, you know what, I want the easy button for my CMA. Where's the easy button? Where do I click it and just get a number? Doesn't get much easier than that, right? Just clicking a property to add it right in on the fly. So now when I start comparing those properties, I jump back here. Now, when I start going through those properties, I've added that closed property right in that quickly. It's going to adjust my numbers. It's going to adjust my stats. And as you can see, it's now here. If there's a property you wanted to remove, maybe they said, I just found out that was a foreclosure. I went in there that, was completely gutted. You can actually do that on the fly as well. So these are all things allowing us to work a little more interactively and not having to do tons of research or look it up in several different places. All right, so that's it on CMAs. Again, if you're interested in learning soup to nuts how to create CMAs or how to use the new interactive version, then take our Cloud CMA class where we're going to cover everything that you need to know. But let's talk about some of the other pieces of cloud now, because that's why we're here, right? I just kind of like to go over that because some people think, well, it seems like it's missing the CMA parts. I kind of like to go over some of the new features to get us started. The other thing is, what about that lead generation piece? So many times we're creating great marketing graphs. We're creating great content for social media. Taylor, who handles all of our communications here at My Real Source, she does a fantastic job, of constantly monitoring how many people it's going out to, picking the group and the demographics that she wants to make sure it gets to see, is messaging all of our subscribers on all different social media platforms. But when you're pushing out information, that's great because you want people to, of course, know that you are an expert in your field and you're in real estate, so you're the name that they go to. But how are you bringing that lead? How are you capturing that lead that you're working so hard to reach out to? How are you bringing their content back to make them a real lead? Because let's face it, they're not a lead if they're just reading a bunch of stuff from you on social media. How are you capturing their name, their email address, their address, so they become a real tangible lead? And that's this next piece. And it really has to do with lead generation and something you get for free. It's actually built for you. Most people never even know it's here because it is kind of hidden in plain sight, if you will. And most people never even know it's here. And it's right in your Cloud CMA program. So let's actually start there. So how do you get to Cloud? If you're brand new to Cloud, what you're going to do is you're going to go to Resources, and you're going to go right into Cloud CMA. By the way, I am recording this entire class. So if there's anything you miss, or let's say you don't have a new listing, or you don't have anything that you're promoting for a little while, and you want to come back and sort of catch up and pick up a couple of these tips again, we record almost all of our classes. There's an exception of a few, like our orientation classes or our photos classes, or some of them that are proprietary to us, things like our copyright class, things like that. But most of our classes that you attend are recorded, and they're actually right here under resources as well. So as you can see, when I click on resources, there is recorded webinars. So if you missed anything in today's demonstration, you can simply go to resources, click on recorded webinars. This will take you right to our YouTube channel. This is something Taylor set up, which was a great idea, so that if you take a class, you can go back and see that actual class. So what I suggest is simply clicking on videos. It's going to show you our classes, and we even put the date next to them so that you can actually see, oh yeah, I took it last Friday. That's the class I want to watch, so I can fast forward right to that particular part. So keep in mind, if you miss anything today, because we're going to go along at a pretty good clip, you can always go back and see it right under resources. Keep in mind, we also have our class catalog, and that is our education corner. So if there are other classes that you're interested in, like the new Kubacasa or the traditional cloud class that's going to be offered on the 25th of February, you can actually just click register here in our online catalog. You can actually sign up for those classes too. All right, so from Paragon, we're going to go under resources into Cloud CMA. Once you're in Cloud, this is going to show you your CMA reports, but really the piece we're looking for is right where your picture is, or your avatar is, right over here to the right. When I click on that, of course, that's how you can bring in custom pages. So you can bring in, let's say you have some marketing pieces. Let's say, I know coming back to Win, Real Estate One that she belongs to has these beautiful custom pages that they paid to put in here. Remax does as well. Many of the companies do, but they have these beautiful brochures and things that you can add into your marketing or into your CMAs. But right underneath there is lead generation. And what this does is it actually creates a squeeze page or a way to capture some information. Now, I don't personally recommend just posting this because that's not going to do you any good. I'm going to show you a couple quick tips of what you can post and some combinations that you can post it with to ensure you're getting that information back. So let's take a look. First, let's take a look at what your landing page looks like. So this link is basically going to ask them, do they want to know what their home is worth? They can type in their property address and it's going to email them information immediately about you. Now, this is not really designed to show them a dollar amount of what their home is worth. Yes, they can see a couple random comps that it's selecting for them. But if you're really great, like Wynn is really great about following up with her contacts. So if she gets a new lead, she also can immediately reach out to them. So you can actually turn it to be automated, where it will automatically send them information about you, or you can actually turn that off and it will send you the lead that you then can follow up manually. Now, for me in teaching classes for a few hours at a time, it's important that it automatically responds to that lead so that they don't reach out to someone else. But this squeeze page can be used on your website. I actually have mine embedded in my signature of my email. It says, do you want to know what your home is worth? And it will take them to this. But I'm going to show you more effective ways of using this page too. So again, there's nothing you have to do to create this. This is something that's automatically right in cloud. Down here, you can quickly share that page to Facebook. You can tweet it out. I guess we have to change this to an X. Let's be a little behind the times now. Of course, you can embed this on your website. As I mentioned, you can use it in your email signature line. But the key to this is I just really want to copy this link at this point. Now, I've opened up my Facebook business page because I want to show you kind of some examples of this. So on my business page, I want to go in and I want to generally create graphs that are going to get me listings right now. That's what we need, right? We need more inventory. Everybody's trying to take new listings for spring. How are you reaching out to people who are thinking of possibly selling? And let's face it, a lot of people think, oh, I got to wait till spring to put my home on the market. So here's an example, and I'm going to show you how to do this. So don't worry, I'm going to go through it step by step. Here's one example of something that can generate a lead immediately. Instead of waiting till spring to put your home on the market, what if we could target this to go out to places like Sterling Heights and Shelby? We could target that market. And what if we could say, are you on the fence about selling your home now or waiting till the spring market? Just look at these incredible numbers. Sellers right now are getting more for their homes than they just did 3 years ago due to the lack of inventory. For example, in Shelby Township right now, if you have a 1,500 square foot home sold today versus just 2 years ago, you would make approximately $40,000 more. Why are you waiting for others to put their homes on the market in the spring? Simply call me today or click the link below to find out what your home is worth. So this is two pieces. What I did is I created a graph for Shelby. I think this was Shelby Township and Sterling Heights. Yes, Macomb Township, Shelby Township, and Sterling Heights. This is an interactive graph that, of course, they can see all of the information. They can click into it. You could make it live or you could even make it a static picture if you're trying to tell a story. And I'm going to walk you through it. Don't worry. So you've given them the information of why. Right? You've given them the call to action, why they need to click on the link. That's the first part. So now the next piece of it is click on the link and find out what your home is worth. Now, some people may not be ready to just immediately pick up the phone and call a realtor to find out what their home is worth. They might just be thinking about it at this point. But that doesn't mean you don't want to be connected to them as the lead. So here's the next step. When they click on that link, that squeeze page that we copied from cloud, they're simply going to enter their address. I'm going to go ahead and just, it will start to autofill. I'm just going to go ahead and click on it and click the magnifying glass. It says, great news, we found it. It's going to ask them for their first name, Just gonna shorten it down here to make it nice and easy. And it's going to ask them for a real life email address. So I'm going to put in, sorry, shorten it a little too much. Going to ask them for a real life email address. That is required. And it does have to be a valid email address because it's going to email them some information. They can go in and put an optional phone number. Let's face it, not everybody's comfortable with that. Most people don't fill it out. And then obviously the square footage of the home. If they want to, they can make it even more drilled down so that they get even closer examples. Remember, it's not sending them dollars. It's sending them random comps that they could find on Zillow or Realtor.com or half a dozen other places, right? So now I'm going to select email my report. What immediately happens on the client side is the client is going to get a pop-up notification that's going to tell them you're going to receive your report. And if you have any questions or you want a more accurate valuation, call Win. Here's her number. And then it will provide your cell phone and your email address. However, on their side, what they just got was they got everything Win had established she wanted to go out for her for that immediate response. And I'm going to show you that in just a second. So Win may have things like how long she's been in business. She may have her marketing program, all her marketing ideas. Maybe her whole marketing plan is in there. She may have, maybe she does some painting for Habitat for Humanity. Maybe she's got a little bio about that, or who she is in the community, or that she's a broker and services, a large area. Whatever it happens to be, she can have that predetermined right in her cloud account. So as soon as they hit that button, that's what they're receiving. Matter of fact, cloud has made that even easier as of late. So I'm going to go quick here for you. Because you can customize exactly what you want to go out. So instead of even having to create a template, which is kind of how it used to be, you can actually set up exactly what you want to go out to your clients in a report. Because let's face it, you might not want everything. You don't want a 62-page, hi, this is my name, but you can actually go in to any of your CMAs and you can customize that CMA report that will go out to them. So it's very easy. You can open up any one and create that template so that that web template is what they see when they're clicking on it. And by the way, you can create all different kinds of templates in Cloud CMA. They have some built-in ones that are labeled for you. You can make your own. So as you can see, I've got Colleen's awesome short sale package, Colleen's long detailed report. Win can have Win's 16-page guide or whatever you want it to be. So the idea is that you can customize exactly what's going out to them. So again, to kind of jump backwards, because again, I'm kind of covering a lot today, the key is you want a call to action. You want to show them why this is a great time to sell right now, not waiting till spring. You want to write that call to action. You want to, of course, put your contact information in. So if they do have a question, they can reach you right away. But you also want to insert that link. And all I did to get that link was copy and paste it. So again, we went into our Cloud CMA account. We went to lead generation, just to kind of recap it. We copied that link. I started my post and I pasted that link in right here. Now you're probably wondering, well, how'd you get that bottom piece in there? The bottom piece, I'm going to show you that very quickly. And there's a whole lead generation class designed for this. So don't worry if you don't get it all right away. Don't panic. We got all the classes there. But that is also under resources. And that one is market stats. Now, I am a big fan, as I mentioned, when you're doing a CMA, of the fast stats, which is right up here. Remember how I said with 2 clicks, you can tell that seller what's going on in their marketplace? Well, with 2 clicks, Win can tell them exactly what's going on in the Sterling Heights area. If she were to go on a listing appointment right now, she can see, just blow these up a little so you can see them, that it's down 12% in inventory, how many homes they had last December versus this December. Remember, it's always 1 month behind because it's got to gather all the data from that previous month. And then here we have our average sales price. Again, even though the percentage of volume is not as bad as our 47% that we looked at a little while ago, you can certainly see that it's still up over 10. I think it's over just under 10,000 for our average sales price. So you can see how easy that was to create. These are great things to share out onto social media. However, there is also another piece of market stats, and that's great when you're posting out that graph. And I like to tell people, when you think of it this way, think of it as these blue boxes down here are actually, what story do you want to tell? So right now, the story really is, we want listings and we want to show them why, right? Let's show them some value of why they need to list right now. The value is because right now, price per square foot is going through the roof because there's not enough inventory. So how do you want to show that? So think of these blue boxes again as the story you want to tell. The story I want to tell is, what is our average price per square foot? Story I also want to tell is, where do I want those new listings? Where am I going to target my ad to go? So I want to go up to here where it says entire MLS. No, I don't want the whole 97% of the state of Michigan, right? I want to focus in on, where do I want those listings? So I'm going to say, I want to show people in Shelby Township and Macomb Township or Sterling Heights, or whatever. You're just going to simply pick the areas that you want to show the graph for. Of course, you can do that by school district. You can do it by county. You can do it by postal code. You can do it. Maybe Wynn specializes, and I'm not sure if she does, but maybe she does. Maybe she specializes in waterfront, and she wants to not just do it by city or county. Maybe she wants to just outline the waterfront area she works. Did you know you can actually do your own My Areas, and you can highlight that waterfront area, and she can show just the numbers of what waterfront properties are doing. So you can be very, very specific. So if you have a particular niche in your market, like waterfront, this is a great way to do that. But anyway, for the case of our example today, for time, I'm just going to type in Shelby Township, Sterling Heights. I could keep going. I could keep adding additional cities or areas. But in this case, now I want to take a look at my graph. But I can tell you I'm not great at math, and this would mean nothing to me if I saw it as a consumer. So let's change it up so it's consumer friendly. Let's go to our line graph and change that to a bar. Maybe I want to show the last 2 years in my history. Maybe I want it to be rolling quarters. Maybe I want to go back 6 months. You can actually choose what story you're trying to tell. But in this case, I think this looks pretty good, pretty easy to read here. Now I want to go ahead and share it. If I was sharing a particular story that was only going to be good for this moment, and I wanted them to see it just as it is, never change, I would share it statically, meaning I would make it lock down. However, maybe I want to insert this on my website. So I want them to be able to click on it and get reflective numbers of what's going on right now in those cities. I could actually do a live graph version too. But in this case, I want to share it to social media. So I'm going to go ahead and share. I'm going to open it in a new window. And now I'm going to simply share it right out to Facebook by clicking on Facebook here. Of course, there's many different places that you can share it. But once I start that post, the next key piece is I want to insert that link, right? I want to give the information, but I want to paste that link in that says, hey, you want to know what your home is worth? Just click right here. So hopefully that makes sense. And Taylor, I'm not sure if we have any questions, but stop me if people had questions and I didn't answer them. So again,
no questions came through, but I did want to let everybody know in the chat, I put in the webinars that you talked about, including low inventory, Cubicasa, Cloud, the original Cloud, as well as our YouTube channel, and then the flipping book with the webinars, all of the Education Corner stuff in it.
Oh, those are my favorite classes that we teach. But the classes Taylor and I get to teach together are always so much fun, and I always learn so much. I swear every time I do a class with you, I learn something else. So it makes it a whole lot of fun. Speaking of that, Taylor has an incredible class coming up on Tuesday. If you have not signed up for it, it's all about copyright. It gives you 2 legal hours of Con Ed. It's being taught at the Macomb Community College Taylor has so much knowledge on this. Again, this is one of those subjects I knew nothing about, and I was so fortunate just sitting in her photography classes. I've learned a lot. But this particular class, you can actually log in. Let me show you how you can sign up too. This particular class, when you log in right now, there is a pop-up that will come up. Just gonna jump through here. So there is a pop-up that will look just like this. It'll say Legal Con Ed. This is actually taught with Taylor and our attorney, who will show you how to avoid one of the biggest and most costly lawsuits that's sweeping across the country, copyright lawsuits. They're going to show you what you need to know. They're going to show you how to protect yourself, and even show you the the forms, plural, that we've created in our library, and show you what you need to know about them. So it's a fantastic class. You can, like I said, you can sign up. There's a register here. The class is free, and again, it does give you 2 legal hours of Con Ed, which is always nice if you're like me and we're kind of late this year.
Yes. Hey, Colleen, there was a really good question that came through. If you don't mind if I answer it.
Sure.
Just so I know the answers are the same, but if you want to add another example, that'd be great. But the question came in is, when they're sharing a graph, what kind of graph should they share on Facebook, live or static? I think my opinion is, if you're going to share a live graph, it needs to just be a general overview of letting them know, like, this is the market, or this is, you know, what's happening right now, because it is live. But if you are going to reference in your description specific numbers or percents changes or anything like that, then you're going to want to choose static, because you don't want it to be a 5% change, and then when they click on the graph, that's not the case.
You're absolutely right. Taylor knows so much about that product. I mean, she's really, it's firsthand knowledge to her. But if you have not taken Taylor's photo classes, I recommend those. She actually covers a little bit of that about posting and what to post and how often to post when we do our classes on adding new listings as well. So again, I can't say enough about a lot of Taylor's classes. I've picked up a lot of stuff. You know, I even thought I took pretty good photos until I took Taylor's class, and I was kind of sad when I realized how much better my photos could be. Little crazy things like you know, when you take a picture of a hallway. Mine kind of looked short and stumpy. You could never tell how elongated that hallway, or especially bridgeways, were. Taylor taught me in her 3-part photography class how to just control your shutter speed, how to let in more light and more aperture to make those long hallways show. Or, you know, let's face it, we're all in those little tiny powder rooms, you know, and we're either in the mirror or we got the toilet front and center. Like, no one knows that room has a toilet, right? So she'll show you, I call it her patented shot, how to angle off the counter into the mirror to get the full room. And I've learned so much. So if you haven't signed up for those classes are specialty classes that are only for My Real Source members, meaning if you're not a My Real Source member, unfortunately, that's part of the member benefit of being one of our members. So lots of exciting stuff. Sorry, Taylor, I didn't mean to go in a whole different direction, but I'm kind of excited about that class on Tuesday.
Oh, I'll take the compliments. Thank you.
You're welcome. And, you know, truly a lot of the classes we get to teach together are the best. I think it's fun. Okay, so going back to some of the other clouds. So if there's any other questions that you have on doing those posts, you know, feel free to put them in the chat. Taylor's going to go ahead and answer them. I'm going to kind of jump back into cloud and touch a little bit more on some of the other pieces. You may not have noticed, because let's face it, when we're in a hurry to write an offer up, the last thing we do is go click on a bunch of buttons on a listing, right? We're usually in a hurry. We start a transaction, we pull over the data. We're not always clicking every button. And that's where these classes kind of are nice, because some of these classes, we highlight these different, that we call them kind of Skittles, but they're really quick action links. And they're quick action links for this specific property. And what I like about this, and a lot of people don't even realize these are here, is we've tried to make it easy to do things like flyers or property reports. And so But we know you don't want to have to go into a whole nother program, sign in, and then pull the data over, right? So did you know that you can actually do property flyers and property reports right from the listing? Let's say you're doing an open house. Let's say Wynn's going to have me do one of, she always has the fancy listings. You know, I never get those. I get the like $40,000 fixer uppers, but let's say Wynn's going to have me do a fancy open house for her. And I want to create an open house flyer. I can click on that quick action link. I can, of course, give my flyer a name, and I can be taken right into Cloud CMA so that I can add notes. I can add additional information. I can pick the flyer type that I want to use here. I can customize it. So right from that particular listing, you can start pulling over all that data into a great flyer program. If you want more details about what you're pulling in, again, all you have to do is click the details section. Maybe you want to change up the description a little. Maybe you want to put description open house / description. Maybe you want to shorten it up. Maybe you want to put some type of in your description. Maybe you want to put some type of the buyer's willing to replace the carpeting, or some type of incentive. All of those can actually be put right in to your flyer right from here. And as you can see, I don't have to type in anything. It's carrying all of that over. Maybe you are hosting an open house, and Wynn's going to hold the house 2 doors down. Maybe you're doing a dual open house. You can actually customize it and create a flyer front, side, and back with both of the information, so that they walk, you're basically giving them incentive to walk down the street to her open house as well. So I like how easy it is, really, quite honestly. There's many flyer programs out there. Of course, you can do a fancy one in Canva, but it doesn't pull over the data. You've got to copy and paste, or you've got to go in and add those details, where here it's pulling everything for you. Under the customize section of the flyer, just like if you're familiar with Cloud CMA, you can certainly customize how you want your flyer to look. I particularly chose this house before, Taylor, just for you, because I liked the clean lines, and I knew you would appreciate that, along with the colors. Taylor's got this eye for color and clean lines.
Nice lines coming out the corners from the driveway. That's one of the techniques I cover in my class, so it's nice to see it.
Yes, I picked this one just for you. I want you to know, because I had one earlier, and I'm like, nope, she'll like this one even better.
Nope, that one's really pretty.
I'll star it for us. We can use it for our example later. This is, of course, where you can go in and pick the theme of your flyer. So basically, your theme is your colors. You certainly don't want to, if you're with Remax, you certainly don't want to walk in with the Century 21 colors, right? That would be not good. Remember, if you are with any of the Real Estate One family of companies or Remax, they do have beautiful marketing colors and unique things in their package. So under your theme, you want to make sure you're selecting those, because they have some really cool marketing, and they paid thousands and thousands of dollars, by the way, to put them in here. So definitely take advantage of those. For everybody else like me, there are all different color schemes. So there's one surely to fit your brokerage. There's every color scheme you can possibly imagine here. The layout is what do you want your flyer to look like? Do you want one big photo? Maybe if it needs a little work on the inside, maybe you're just going with an outside photo. Hopefully, if it does need work, you're at least putting some cute pictures of the downtown areas or something like that. But you can actually pick your flyer type, how you want the flyer to, what the layout is going to be. The one thing I kind of caution you here on the font, I don't like to change the fonts in Cloud CMA, and I'll tell you why. It's kind of a weird reason. We allow you to bring in more characters than most MLSs. And for that, if you start getting into the really scripty font, I found for me it truncated sometimes more than I wanted it to, because it takes up more room for that scripty font. So I was not a fan. I also got a call just not that long ago from Flo Abke, who said, the numbers don't line up, and it was just because her font had changed, and that scripty kind of, when you're looking at like the seller's net out and some of those other pieces, it just didn't look as nice. So little word of caution, I probably wouldn't play too much with the fonts, just because when you're bringing in that amount of data, it tends to be truncated, and you might not like where it's truncated. I did not. You can also add different titles. And again, you can just click on it and put in what you want it to be called. You can go right to the drop down. Maybe you want it to be called, and you wouldn't be having it called the coming soon if you're standing in the open house, by the way. Because remember, coming soons can't be shown by anyone. Just a reminder. But maybe you want to change it to open house or for sale or just listed, something along those lines. Description. This is where you can go in and you can change exactly what you want to be on the flyer. And then lastly, if you want to put your name or you want to customize it even further, you just want to remember always publish that flyer, and then your flyer is good to go. And if you do an open house and you want to change the dates for the next week, you can just go back in and edit it, put your new dates in, and it's that simple. So again, flyers are another feature that you have right in Cloud CMA. All right, some other things I wanted to show you in Cloud. So let me jump back here for just a moment. Kind of got a few windows open. I'm going to close a few of these so I'm not jumping all over the place. So we talked about what's your home worth. We talked about how you can go into Cloud and you can add those custom marketing pieces. Some of the companies have even done that for you. Remember, when you're going in, if you're making any modifications to Cloud itself, you're going to go into Resources and Cloud CMA. Some of the other features in Cloud are what we call a buyer tour and a property report. So I'm going to cover those two. The property report, basically, if you want to do a detailed property report to show additional information, you can either do it right in Cloud, or again, you can do it right from, if you wanted to show additional information for this specific property, you can click right here. As a matter of fact, if you run your mouse over it, it'll tell you it's the property report. If you click on that, this is where you could make it for a specific client. So let's say Wynn is working with a relo client. And she would obviously put his name in here, but we're just gonna, so I remember, oops, so if it looks a little better there. I'm going to go ahead. I'm now going to pull this in to the property report. And then what do I want to include? Property report is like an email report that you can send to a buyer, or maybe you want to do an in detailed flyer for the flyer box. Maybe you have an interested buyer, or you're looking for a way to give more information, like what the local golf courses are or great restaurants. If I lived by DeFrancesco's, I would definitely be touting that. So maybe you want to give a little bit more information about the surrounding area, and that's really what a property report is. So it's the same concept. Matter of fact, everything in Cloud is kind of that same concept, whether you're doing a CMA, whether you're doing a property flyer, whether you're doing a full-on property report, you're customizing exactly what you want to be there. So again, if I go into the details section, this is where I can add notes. It's, of course, pulling over the information from the MLS, so you don't have anything to fill out. But then what do you want to include in your detailed property report? So that's, again, under customized. So it follows kind of that same thing that you see even when you're building your CMA report. So now what do I want to include? Anything that I want to include is going to be over here on the left. Anything that's currently in my report is going to be right here. If you want to see it, they've also added the preview option, because I used to hate this. You used to have to add something in to be able to see it, to be able to open it, to be able to take it out if you didn't like it. That didn't work for me. It was very frustrating. So they have fixed that. Now you can actually click on, if I want to see what the schools are that it's going to list, I can actually do the preview, and I can see these would be all of the schools that are close to this particular listing. I can see how close they are. I can see the phone number for that school. I can see the name of the school, and I can even include the ratings if I want to. So again, if you want to see what's on a particular page, area restaurants. Again, if I lived close to DeFrancesco's, I would definitely be touting that. In this case, it's going to show us what the local restaurants are. Their Yelp rating is right here. And then what do you want to include? Maybe you also want to talk a little bit about, I'm going to add more listings in. So I'm going to click that. It's going to show photos of additional listings in that area. You can do things like if you have Zillow ratings and you wanted those to be included, you could add those. I don't, so I don't have them in there. If you have, you can now, and I don't know if everyone's familiar with this, but you can actually now go in and tie in your great agent account and your testimonial tree account. So if you have people giving you great ratings as well as your Zillow ratings, you can actually pull them automatically right into a page in cloud. So I thought that was kind of cool. A few of my friends really like that, and they hooked their account together. You can actually do that under your preferences too. All right, so once you've picked what you want to be part of this, and if there's something you don't want to be part of it, of course you can click that minus and it will float out. The other thing I really like is that you can drag and drop those into the order. So basically telling the story in the order that you want. And then the hardest part is to simply publish your page afterward. And then once you do that, it's going to save any changes that you've made. It takes about 30 seconds to publish, but now I can go ahead and I can view it as a PDF, or I can send it out via email. Kind of show you what it looks like. So here's our property report, our contact me page, details about the property. Just kind of looks like you went the extra mile, right? All the interior photos. I like the clean look of it. I think that it certainly sets you apart than someone just sending an MLS listing ticket, right? Which hopefully people aren't doing still. Here's our area schools. Again, you can include great schools for the ratings, area restaurants. So it's just a way to give a little bit more of a detailed look at that property. Okay, so let's start talking about the next item on the list, and that is the property tours. So if you are looking for a way to establish your tour, the first thing I would recommend is setting your clients up in the new collaboration center. So if you are working with buyers, if you have not used the new collaboration center, there's a whole class on it. So we're not going to do that today, but there's a whole class on the collaboration center. The new interactive look of the Collab Center, I think, is fantastic. I love that clients can now open the Collab Center on their phone and with one click be immediately in front of the listing. Let's say they're standing in front of Wynn's listing. They want to know all about it. They can hit one button in the Collab Center, takes them right to where they're standing, and it gives them all the details on Wynn's listing, which I love. They don't have to type anything in. They don't have to do a thing. The other thing I love is that you can set up the Collab Center. And really what the Collab Center is you're going into Paragon, you're saving a search, and you're just marrying it to the contact record. So it says, Wynn's clients looking for a 3-bedroom, 2 full baths with an attached garage. They want a finished basement. And we're looking on land contract, whatever details you want to put into that buyer search, you can automate it now. So you can say, okay, here's the buyer's information. Here's the buyer's name. Any new listings that come up with this criteria, just send it right out to that buyer for me. So it looks like you are constantly staying in touch with them. You're constantly sending out new listings to them, but really it's automated. Now, what I like is that the people who created the Collab Center, they know real estate is not everything works as it should. And if you've been doing real estate for any amount of time, you know you can't make this stuff up in real estate, right? I literally had a client, we were closing her home, and she's like the nicest lady, one of those people who is a client but just becomes your friend through the transaction. So we're sitting there, she says, my sister just started to look for her home. I passed along your contact information. And I thought, oh, fantastic, she's going to be wonderful like she was. Polar opposite, actually. Our second conversation went something like this. Colleen, if you send me one more yellow-sided house, I'm going to fire you and get another agent. Now, first of all, I don't think she had ever mentioned, at least not that I heard, that she didn't like yellow siding. Second of all, there is no button in the MLS that says, hey, remove all yellow-sided houses, if you know what I mean. So that's when you can use those fail-safes, like the agent preview, which literally sent all of the listings to me first. I could then go through them and I could see, does it have yellow siding? If it didn't, it would automatically go onto her. So the whole system does give you these ways to still work with your clients. So even though it's automated, it's giving you those extra levels of control as the agent. Another good example is they also have agent recommended. Now, this was my favorite because I had a first-time home buying couple that were buying in St. Croix Shores, and I kid you not, they said to me no less than 20 times, Colleen, we only want to see houses in St. Clair Shores. Don't show us anything outside of St. Clair Shores. We're not even going to look at it. So I set their search up for St. Clair Shores, only St. Clair Shores, right? One of my best friends in the world listed a house one street, a real estate one manager listed a house one street outside of St. Clair Shores. We're having breakfast, and she says she's telling me about this new listing. She's got to go take the pictures, and she starts describing it, and every bell and whistle in my head went off and said, "This is their house." Now, it was kind of challenging because they had mentioned only show us houses in St. Clair Shores no less than 20 times. But she described this house, I knew this was the one. It was 3 streets out of St. Clair Shores. So of course it didn't come up in their automated search, but as soon as we walked in, I did it as an agent recommended. So it popped up in front of them when they opened up their collab center. As soon as they saw the property, we wrote it right at the kitchen table, and Dawn and I thankfully were able to close the deal up 30 days later. So the whole thing is you have to have, even though it's automated, you still have to have the agent have a level of control for situations like that. Because let's face it, in this low inventory market, we, the agents, a lot of times know they're not going to get what they're dreaming of here, right? We might have to kind of bring them down to reality and price and realize that there isn't enough inventory. So it does still have ways of controlling that. So the reason I'm talking a little bit more about the collab center is when you're working with buyers, the first thing you really want to do is you want to set them up in the collab center so they're automatically getting those notifications. Now, why I like the collab center so much is once I set up their search and I marry it to their contact record, I really don't have to do much. Anytime they favorite a house, so if there's something that my clients want to see, I say simply click the favorite button. That immediately shoots it to me as the agent. Now I see it, and with one click, I can drop it in a showing time cart. Not schedule a single showing, but actually create a showing time cart. So I want to kind of cover that, and then we're going to go into the buyer tour after that. So let me show you how and I'm going to use one of my real life clients. The agents themselves, once you turn on the collab center, you're going to go right to your contacts. And this is where you can see all of your collab center sites. If I want to see, Robert Barrett is actually a client. If I want to see what he's looking at, I can see his site just like he's seeing it if I click view site. I also like that down here, if I scroll over just a bit, I can see when I set up his collab center site. I can see when he last went in. He went in 2 days ago. I can see his last new notification, the last house that got sent to him was 2 days ago. I can see he currently has 6 favorited listings, which have come to me so I could schedule them. If I want to see the site just like he is, I click on view, and that will take me right into the brand new collaboration center. By the way, if they're using it on their phone, that little button I told you, if they click right here, takes them right to where they're standing. So they can, again, see Wynn's listing that they're standing in front of. Some of the new enhancement that they've added in the collaboration center site is that it's easier than ever to compare listings. Now they can go in, let's say they wanted to see more about Mufat Street. I'm going to go in. Such an interesting name. I'm going to go in and I'm going to click into that property. Of course, this is where I can see all of the high resolution photos. I can scroll down and see all the details from the MLS. I can even see things like the seller's disclosure and the lead-based paint. So now you're giving your client a tool. They can't see the seller's disclosures and lead-based paint on Zillow. They aren't seeing them on other sites, but you're giving them a way to see them. You're giving them more information than they can on these IDX sites. So now, again, giving more value as the realtor. So if my client goes in, I can see they've also added a Cuba Casa floor plan here. If my client goes in, they can click the favorite part, which then sends it directly to me as the agent. And now I can go ahead with one click and put it in my showing time cart. They can also walk down the street. They can see the home to the left. Maybe I want to check out the neighborhood before I drive all the way over there. I can see that these are a little bit bigger lots, which is nice. They're not really on top of each other. And of course, I can see the home to the left and the right and walk right down the street. So they can actually do all of that right from their phone, or maybe they're on their tablet or their computer. From here, they can also compare listings. So, by the way, husbands and wives can share a site so they can leave notes for each other. Partners, investors, they can do the same. But I can actually stack listings up side by side in the collab center so that I can actually see, okay, this one has more acreage, or this one has a 3-car garage versus the other. So I can actually really do a better job of kind of comparing the two too. So a lot you can do in cloud. The reason I brought that up is once they're in there, now I want to be able to easily schedule those showings. So once they favorite things, again, they come right to me as the agent. Now, all I have to do is click on contacts, and I can see that Bob has favorited 6 listings. Instead of me trying to call Bob and saying, Bob, what time are you available to go see it? And he's going to say, wait, I got to call Mrs. Fumagalli and see when she's able to see it. Now, by the time they call me back, it's pending, right? Right in there, not only can they favorite it, but they can put the time that they're available to see it. Remember, that immediately gets sent to you as the agent. Now I can go ahead and schedule these for that time. But watch how cool this is. This is my favorite part. So it's great on the client side. That's all well and good. But for me, when I'm ready to schedule them as the agent, I'm just simply going to my contacts, pulls up everybody. I see their 6 favorited listings. I'm going to click the number 6 here. That opens all 6 of those listings. Now I want to put them in my showing time cart. So I'm going to go look for the easy button. All I'm going to do is I'm going to look for where it says actions right here. And I'm going to say, I want to put all of these into my showing time cart. So from here, I want to create a new cart. And I want to just pick the date that I want to show these properties. So I'm going to say, we're going to go look at those tomorrow. I can even put in Barry Buyer's name so I can track how many properties he's looked at. I kid you not, one of my other best friends, Lisa Harris, she loves this because she literally had a buyer who they looked at 99 homes. I know, I kid you not. I made her show me because I didn't believe it, but it actually keeps track of how many you show to your buyers. At about buyer, I think she said 78. She literally printed all the addresses out from showing time, slid it in front of them and said, okay, we're probably going to have to shrink our haves and wants, or we're going to have to increase our price range. And shortly after that, they did find a home. Now, it was new construction. So in all fairness, sometimes that does take a little bit longer. I get it. But I think she was at the end of her patience. And she's like a very patient person. Long story short, by having it track all of the properties you've shown, you can actually do that. From here, what I love about this is you can see it's actually put these in, and I'll shrink this down so you can see the map a little bit better here. It's actually put these in kind of a wonky driving order here. So I want to do a smart route. I want to put them in the logical driving order that's going to make sense. So I'm not driving from one end of town to the other. You can also drag and drop them if that's easier. But here's what I like about this. You can see right here, it says go and show. So if Wynn is running out on her lunch hour and she just got these from the buyer and they said, hey, I got an hour today, let's go take a look at a couple of these. I don't want them to be gone. Wynn can say, okay, well, let's start with the go and show, because she knows that one, as soon as she requests the appointment, she's going to get the lockbox. So they're going to get in there, and that gives the other appointments that need to be confirmed, gives them more time to do so. What I like about this is you can also see the drive time. So maybe she's going to put the 2 go and shows together here, so she gets a little more time to get these confirmed. And it will show you that right under the appointment type. I also like that the driving directions are here. It's going to tell me that I need, especially if you're using electronic lock boxes, it's going to tell me how long I need to configure for my drive time. This happens to be 10 minutes. I like too, if they don't allow overlapping showings or if there's a blockout time, I see that on one page. The problem is if you schedule these appointments on their own, meaning one by one, let's say you start off with 9 a.m., you want to show 9 to 10, but then you go to the next property and 10:15 is blocked out. Now you got to start over. You got to go adjust your old time. You don't want to do that. You want to be able to do all of that from one convenient view. So I'm going to say we want to start showing at 10 a.m. I know I need to give myself about 15 minutes there on our window. By the way, this little pop-up that you're seeing is just a reminder that thanks to the NAR settlement practice changes, you do need to make sure that you have a buyer representation agreement signed and in place. Yes, I do have to say that before scheduling. So I'm going to go ahead now. I'm going to pick my time. But as you can see, I can do all of those very easily by just picking, and it will also tell you if you need access to a central lockbox on this step. So I love this. I think it's just an easier way to schedule multiple properties at one time. The other thing is after you get them confirmed, you can click create turn-by-turn directions, which will send those over to your buyer so the buyer knows which house they're seeing first, which house they're seeing second. They don't have to keep calling and saying, hey, Wynn, what was number 3? We're leaving number 2. Where are we going next? We've all had those showing appointments, right? So more when we had a little more inventory, that's for sure. But it allows you to send those over so that they right on their phone can navigate from listing to listing. The other thing is I seem to always be running out the door with my printout in hand, right? And they call and they say, great news, Colleen, we found one more property. So you can always go in and add additional listings on the fly too. If Wynn is working with that reload buyer, maybe she wants to also add in a restaurant in between stop 3 and 4. She can actually put the address in there so it's part of their driving directions. So just so much you can do right from the Collab Center. So Collab Center has a whole new look and feel. Take the class if you haven't. I can't recommend it enough. But I'm showing you this for another reason. Once you have all of your favorites, once you have your scheduled appointments, now I want to make something in Cloud called the buyer tour, which is going to allow the buyer to scribble down notes or questions that they may have as they're walking through the listings. It's also going to give them area information. But let me show you how easy it is to create the buyer tour. Just like we did for when we were scheduling our appointments, it all starts with that same easy button. So these are the favorites, right, that they wanted to see. Now I want to create a buyer tour. And for the sake of time, so it doesn't take quite so long, I'm just going to say we have 3 because that's a little more what's going on in our world, right? So I'm going to say they want to see these 3 properties this evening. So because I have OCD, I'm also going to uncheck, or I'm going to hit that check button because I don't like to see all the ones I'm not showing. I just want to see the ones I'm working with. And now I'm going to use that same actions button. This time I'm going to use Cloud. Instead of going into showing time, I'm going to create a buyer tour. Once I click on that buyer tour, it's going to ask me, who am I preparing this for? So I am going to say that this is going to be for Betty Buyer. I could even put in notes or reminders. Maybe it's a referral from someone and I want to capture that in here so I know. Now I'm going to go ahead and hit fetch listings. It's basically now going to pull those listings right into Cloud for me. Of course, I can put them in any order by simply dragging and dropping them in the order of my tour. And now again, following that same thing we see throughout Cloud, right, which makes it easy, we're going to hit customize our report. What do we want to include for our buyers? So there's all different things that you can choose from. Maybe you want them to see your agent resume. Maybe you want to include information about the home buying process. Maybe they're first-time home buyers and you want to include a kind of a detailed, here's what's going to happen in the process of home buying. Maybe you want to include, maybe you have a particular lender you want to talk up. Maybe you want to pull in your lender sheet. Maybe you want to put a link to the lender. You can do that as well. So a lot of cool things there. For here, what do you want to include on the listings? Do you want to include one photo, the first 12, or all of them? Maybe you have some custom pages about working with Wynn and Win with Win. I don't know. Maybe she uses that already. Maybe she has a custom page or some marketing material about her team or her brokerage. You can bring all of those in as you customize your buyer tour. So once we've got our template saved, we're going to go ahead, click publish our tour. Kind of following that same thing we see throughout Cloud, those 4 simple steps. It takes about 30 seconds to publish. And then we're going to go ahead. And these are great if you want to email it ahead. Maybe you want to print it off. A lot of times they're, especially if they're seeing multiple properties, if they're coming in maybe as a reload buyer, sometimes around 3 and 4 property, they're like, did that one have the green stove or was it the other one? Did that one have the tile we were going to have to replace? So this buyer tour, I can blow it up here so you can see it a little bit better. This buyer tour is going to allow them to have all of your contact information. It'll show them the properties that you're showing. Again, it will walk them through what that home buying process is in case they're a first time home buyer, the quick details about the listings. Ooh, kind of picked an interesting one where again, they can write those comments or questions that they may have for each one of the listings. All right, so hopefully you picked up a couple tips or tricks in using Cloud CMA. And I know we kind of covered a lot of information today, and you're probably thinking, wow, that's kind of a lot. Well, remember, that's why we record it. Additionally, you also have tech support that is available 7 days a week from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. If you ever have a question about how to get a hold of tech support, if you open up Paragon, and you go right up to the help box here at the top, it will give you our support phone number, our support times. Of course, you can send an email, and we also have Log Me In. So if you're having a problem on your computer, it's great because they can also shadow you and help you resolve that. So I think that is it. Taylor, did I miss anything else in the world of cloud? Anything you can think of I missed?
No, I don't think so. No questions. So you covered everything so well. There were no questions.
I love that. Either that or I put everybody to sleep. Hopefully that was not the case. But I want to thank you so much for attending today. We are going to send out a short 1-minute survey afterward, just sort of getting your thoughts on the class. We like to know what we did well, or if there was something we didn't cover in Cloud CMA that maybe you wanted us to. It'll have a little place to put that in there. But other than that, I hope you all have a great day. Stay warm and happy selling. Oop, one last question. How do we find the trainings? Okay, before, let me show you that real quick. Right in Paragon, let me grab that. To find the class recording, Taylor put it in the chat too, but it's under resources. Recorded webinars is where you're going to find this class. So you'll go to recorded webinars. It'll take you right to our YouTube channel. You're going to click on videos, and it will have this class. It will take about 24 hours, so it won't be there today, but then it will have the class date right after it as well. If you're looking for upcoming classes, if that was the question, then you're going to go to resources, our education corner. That is the digital catalog that will show you all of those upcoming classes, and you can register there. Hopefully I answered your question. I'm sorry, I saw it just as I was getting ready to hang up. Yes, upcoming. Okay, so yep. So Julian, you're going to go to resources again. I'll walk you through it. Resources. And you're going to go to the education corner, and that creates kind of an online digital catalog. You just find the course, whether it's Paragon, whether it's mobile agent, property records, Taylor's great photography classes, Kuba Casa, low inventory, and you just click the register button, and it will allow you to register for that webinar. All right. All right, so I'm going to end again. Have a great day, everybody.